Hello everyone and welcome to a beginner's guide to Ark. Now as a new player, we're playing here on the island, which is going to be the original map of Ark. Now I highly recommend as a new player, you start South Zone 2. It is not the best spawn. It is actually the safest spawn, but it is the slowest spawn to help you progress. Now the reason I recommend you start here is there's just less likely of a chance of you dying versus any other zone. So we're going to go through and get spawned in here, and we're going to skip the cutscenes. That way, when you actually play, you can enjoy them on your own time. Now, upon spawning in Ark Survival Ascended specifically, if you are playing this, if you have a PS5, an Xbox Series S, an Xbox Series S, or even a lower-end PC, before you do anything, stop. Press the start button, and we're going to be entering what's called some commands. They're not cheat codes, they're basically just ways to optimize your game, because even though the game looks beautiful, it also runs terribly at times. So, what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. There are three commands we're going to enter. The first one is r.volumetric_cloud0. Again, if you're on any platform I just mentioned, I highly encourage it. It'll be a much better experience. This is going to diminish the clouds in the sky, and poof, they're gone. Now the second one is going to be r.volumetric_fog. At times there will be fog in the air, but the most notable difference will be actually when you're underwater. As when you go underwater, there's actually going to be this small film underwater that you can see here. And this film is very murky. It does give it a bit more realism, if you will. But we're actually going to disable that as well, because it's going to highly help our performance. Now lastly, I don't see too much grass over here, so you're going to have to just trust me on this. But enter grass.size_scale. Now, by default, it is set to 1. You can turn all the way down to 0, which will make it look just like a steaming hot mess of poo. Basically like PvP settings. You're going to get rid of everything. 0.8 will keep all grass in all locations. It's just going to make it shorter, and again, it's going to help your performance immensely. Now that you've done that, you shouldn't have to, but now that you've done it, let's start playing. So first up, as a new player, you're going to look for these little stones on the beach. These are the best places to find the very basic stones you will need to craft your first pieces of equipment. Once you've got these, do what every Ark player does. Punch a tree. Basically, you're looking for thatch. In the beginning, there are 5 essential resources you need to be aware of. Thatch and wood, which will come from trees, flint and stone, which will come from boulders, and then fiber. Now, as soon as we've gotten our first piece of wood, we can stop punching this tree, as punching the tree does actually inflict damage to you. And then you look for these bushes here. We do need to be careful of these seagulls, because if they see us, they will attack us, and they can steal things out of our inventory. So we're going to go back to these bushes, since they are away from these seagulls, and those seagulls are basically like the devil of Ark. They're one of the most hated creatures in the game. So when you have the opportunity to kill them later, by all means, go ahead. But for now, since we're naked and probably even a little bit afraid if we're new here, let's just play it safe. So now we've got a little bit of fiber. We're going to head back here and grab a little bit more. And we've got ourselves our very first level up, which is extremely important for helping us in a couple of different ways. So let's take a look at that. With our first level up, the way leveling up works in Ark is first, it's going to give you a numerical increase to one of these stats. Now, basically, I'm going to tell you what you should and should not level. Health is important, but not a priority early. Stamina is extremely important and should be prioritized early. Don't ever worry about leveling oxygen, food, or water. Weight is the other very important stat early on. Weight and stamina are going to be the main two. Melee damage also early on, let's put 1 or 2 points in because that will help us out, and I'll explain that later in the video. Movement speed in Ark Survival Evolved is by default on, also very important. In Ark Survival Ascended, it's not a default setting, so we're not even going to bother messing with it. Crafting skill, don't bother till endgame, and fortitude is important to help keep you cool or warmer in different climates, but for now, we're not going to invest in it. For now, we're just going to put a point into stamina. Now, once you unlock your stat points, it will then give you engram points to spend. Basically, new things that you can unlock that you can craft. So we're going to unlock the spear for defense, and the hatchet to harvest new items. Alright, now that we've done that, we're going to go over to our crafting menu and we can craft our first tool, the stone pickaxe. Once you've got this, you're going to go through and place it on your hotbar for easy access. Now, once we've gone through and hit this, we're going to hit a boulder nearby. Let's find a rock. Let's hit this with our pickaxe here. And we're just looking for a bit of stone and flint. Once we've got that, we can now craft our axe and we can craft ourselves a torch. Torches are extremely important for dealing with groups of enemies early on. And because it will shred armor, and it will also go through and basically inflict a damage over time effect. So we're going to put the axe here on our hotbar and the torch to help keep us safe if we get surrounded by small groups of enemies. Now that you have both the essential tools to get started, it's important to know something. Each tool harvests different resources in a different capacity. So when you hit a tree with a pickaxe, you're going to get thatch. But when you hit it with an axe, you're going to get wood. You will get both each time, but the axe will get more wood, as you can see, and the pickaxe is going to get more thatch. The same concept applies to pretty much almost every resource and creature in the game. So if you hit this, for example, this rock here, when you use a pickaxe, you're going to get flint, and there's a chance, a very small chance, you will get metal. There will be actual metal nodes that you can find later, which you will want to use the pick for. Now, if you switch to your axe, this is actually the best way to get stone when just using your hands. Instead of picking up small stones, you're going to find a big boulder and smack it with an axe, which doesn't really make much sense overall in reality, but this is just a game, so this is how it works. Ooh, we accidentally bonked that guy. Don't worry, he will not, he'll just fly away. He won't fight us. He walked into it. It's his own fault. So now we've got everything we need. We've got another level. So we're going to go through and put our next point here into most likely weight, because we're going to have to start carrying a whole bunch of gear. And now that we've done that, we're going to go through and unlock the campfire, and then we've got 6 more points to spend. I recommend you put points into the cloth pants and the cloth shirt. The cloth gloves and the boots both need hide. And the hat we can make also as well. Actually, we can probably make a hat. It only needs 10 fiber. So we're going to make a hat, and we're going to go through and pick one of these. We'll just pick the pants here, so we're not completely butt naked. And then we can actually craft the hat, because, you know, essentials. Who needs pants when you can wear a hat? So we're going to go through and slap a hat on. Now, what makes cloth important, if you're playing in a server with boosted settings, you'll probably skip cloth entirely, as the armor rating it provides is pretty minimal. But it is one of the earliest pieces of gear available to you that will actually help keep you cool. And while you're out on the beach first learning to play, you will get hot. And so this is actually going to help keep you cool. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to build some pants. So in order to do that, we need more fiber. And fiber is one of the most tedious resources to gather in the early game on official settings. This is actually one of the many reasons a lot of servers or players will boost their settings, because gathering things like fiber and narco berries, which will also come from these bushes, is going to take a hot minute, especially when doing it by hand. So they will either boost settings, or you need to rush a tame to help you farm these resources. Now, I have no idea how much fiber we have or how much we need to craft our pants. In order to look at that in Ark Survival Ascended, you can actually go over to the item and then just hit track. So on the PlayStation, that's the left analog stick, and now you will see it pops up on your screen here to see how much you actually need in order to craft it. So that way there's no more guessing games. I don't need to keep fumbling through my menus, figuring out when I have enough. I can now see I have plenty. I'm probably going to grab just a little bit more, because I promise you, you will always run out of fiber in the early game. It's going to be the bane of your existence, so just make sure you grab a bit, because you're going to need a whole lot more later on. So now at this point though, instead of waiting around, we're actually going to craft our pants. We've got some decent armor on. And we're going to go through and craft ourselves 2 spears. We need those, and we're also going to craft our campfire, because that's going to allow us to cook some food as soon as we find the first thing to kill. Alright, now at this point we've crafted everything we need to actually go through and get into our first engagement here. So we're going to look for anything that is small that essentially you can bully early on. And this is why South Zone 2 is great, because nothing realistically here should try to fight you that's going to pose too much of a threat. You might have some crocodiles in the water over there, the Dinosuchus or the Sarcosuchus, but realistically these seagulls are probably going to be the most annoying thing you have to deal with. Now, if you go over there, there's going to be a whole bunch more bad stuff, so don't go over there. Instead, you're going to walk along the path here and stay anywhere near the lagoon. If you're on the edge of the lagoon, you should be in a pretty safe spot. On that side, though, like I said, there is raptors, so a lot more dangerous and a lot more difficult to deal with. Now that we're over here, though, we should look for a lystro, compies, or dodos, and we can go through and get ourselves some first couple of levels. And some hide. So, and as we're walking, it is great to spam the pickup button. That way you're accomplishing farming and gathering at the same time as you are traversing the map. Now we're out of stamina, so to make the best use of our time, we're going to stop to restore it. And we're going to level up, and we'll put another point into stamina. Now let's check out the levels on the Parasaurus here. So this is a level 20. We can actually kill that without needing a bola. So we can go through and potentially kill him. And let's see the 2 levels for these guys. This guy is a level 55. That will be a lot more challenging without a bola. We can do it. We'll be running around like crazy. And this guy's level 20. We might be able to kill him. So when you want to kill a PT here, we've got a bunch of dodos. We'll kill them too. Without using a bola. They need to be pretty low level. Switch over to first person if you're not already. I prefer third person for almost everything but this. Then go for the headshot. And ideally, he should die just like that. Headshots do significantly more damage to a lot of creatures, and even more so to PTs. They take a very large amount of headshot damage. Always throw the item directly at the creature when it's walking towards you versus on its side. It will be a lot easier to hit a headshot. Now let's talk about the spear. We're going to basically massacre this whole dodo family, sadly for them. But when you use the spear, there is two ways to use it. First, you can use it in its melee form, and if you hit it in the side, you will deal a certain amount of damage. Then, if you hit it in the head, you will deal headshot damage. Now, a couple things to note with these dodos. One, they have a heart above their head. That is a mate boost. That indicates that there is both a male and a female in this general area, meaning they have a damage boost and a defensive or damage reduction boost. They also have a little icon above that, with the dinosaur icon, and that indicates they also have babies nearby. So typically creatures like dodos, who would run if you attack them, will actually be aggressive back towards you if there are babies in the area. So either I need to kill them or kill their babies, and then they will stop caring. In this case, though, we're just going to kill them all. Now, the other instance, though, is actually to use the throwing of the spear. Now, when you use it in its melee form, like I mentioned a second ago, you can do both standard damage, and you'll be able to go through and to use the headshot damage. Now, as you notice, I actually just ran out of a spear. If you run out of an item, if you double tap that item while it's on your hotbar, you automatically craft a new one. Now, when you use this melee damage, you saw mine just broke, because when you use it in melee, there's a 5% chance it will break. Now, when you use it in ranged, there is a 10% chance that it will break, but he won't give it back because I don't have it yet. So we're going to craft another one if we can. We can't. So I'm just going to torch him real fast so I can get my spear back. And then we can pick up our spear, because the spears actually have a chance of being recovered when you throw them. So now that we have that, let's try this one more time. And as you saw in the PT, the headshot damage does a lot. So we could just go for these kills here, which has a 5% chance of breaking, but it will do less damage. Or if you go for these kills here, it's going to do significantly more damage, but there's a 10% chance of it breaking. Now, I mentioned earlier in large groups of enemies that the torch is good, and let me show you why. So we're going to switch back to third person, and you can torch all of these guys all at once. Now, this is specifically really helpful with small bugs. Well, I guess technically they're large bugs, but as they run up on you, the torch makes it very easy to hit large groups of enemies in a radius without you having to actually be all that precise. You don't want to swing the torch constantly. Hit it, give it a second. He's too small for me to whack. He seems to be impervious to damage. Would you look at him? And he's dead. So we just massacred almost their whole family. We'll go kill this guy too, so he doesn't have to feel sorry that his family just died. One more time, and he's dead, and this guy is dead. So we got very, very fortunate by finding this many dodos. So as we harvest these guys up, we're going to get an immense amount of hide. And again, this is all going to be on official settings, so it's not like I have any sort of boosted rates. Everything is official. And this is why I mentioned this area is great if you're a new player, because you don't have to worry about things killing you. You can focus more on actually playing the game and learning the actual mechanics. Now, when it comes to killing creatures or harvesting them, they work just like rocks do. If you use your hatchet, they're going to give you more hide. But if you use your pickaxe, they're actually going to give you more meat. Now, babies specifically will give you a form of meat called raw meat, which will expire even faster, and it cannot stack. They will each be their own stack, which means they're all going to expire at the exact same time very quickly. But that meat is important later on when it comes to taming carnivores. Now, you notice we're out of water here. We've got a couple of options. Do we have the skin? We do not have the water skin. So let's unlock the water skin here, and we'll unlock the cloth shirt. That way we're not completely naked. We'll get ourselves the sleeping bag here. Now we can't get any more levels. And the reason being is you cannot get your points for these levels until you actually distribute these stat points for those levels. So once we invest into stats, then you'll notice if we go back to the screen, we then can unlock the items in this area. So we're going to unlock the narcotic, the mortar and pestle, and I'm going to wait. We technically do want to unlock the items too, but I really want the club. That's going to be what we use to go through and to knock out our first creature. So you'll notice that we're low on water. And while we're low on water, let me just show you really quickly here. We're going to sprint, and as we're sprinting, we're using our stamina. And as you use your stamina, you will notice upon going back into your inventory, that as your stamina recovers, it will deplete your food, and it will do the same thing for your water. And if you are out of water, so you're dehydrated, or you're out of food, so you're starving, you will progressively lose health over time. So a simple fix is simply just to go through to the water and scoop up some water and take a drink, and it will refill the actual water meter. Now, additionally, you can craft what's called the water skin early on, and this is going to act as a kind of portable source of water. It will temporarily leak over time, so if you go too far without filling it back up, then it's going to actually be empty. But what you can do to do two things at once, if you walk up to a water source with it in your hotbar or in your inventory, and you activate it, it will fill it up at the same time as filling up your actual water. So now that we've done that, let's go through and look at these guys, killing these guys here. There is the seagull here, and I'm trying to avoid a confrontation with them, as they're going to just knock the weapon most likely out of my hands, and they will eat any consumable in your inventory, and it will disappear forever. So we killed this guy here, and we got this hide. The reason hide is so important is it's going to be used to craft bolas, which are tools you can use to immobilize creatures, and you'll need a bunch of hide to craft saddles for things like a parasaur saddle specifically. There is a drop over there. I'm not going to bother running all the way over there. We're going to focus on what we're doing. Now this parasaur here is actually going to be the 50 something. So this guy should be the low level. So we'll go through and kill him while avoiding, hopefully, the seagull. I may have to deal with it because it's in the vicinity. Let's just go through and hit some wood. We might have to just deal with that seagull. I think it is coming our way. It's always good to kind of look around your surroundings when you are actually farming. That way you don't get snuck up on. Now we've got 2 spears here. I think I'm going to make a third one just to be safe. So I'm going to go through and again I'm going to track it and see what I need. And so in this case I need a little bit of fiber. And we'll go through and pick this up. Fiber is always going to be an absolute necessity early on. You're going to need absolutely ridiculous amounts of it, and your poor little hands can only scrounge up so much at a time. So now we're covered here, and we're going to go through and craft the last one that we need. And when you are crafting, you are slower. So don't start a fight in the middle of crafting, as you will be too slow to move. Now I'm going to get this off here so you don't have to stare at it, and we're going to equip our spear. Now quickly, before I kill him, I saw the PT land. I am curious what level he is. I may not be able to get to him from over here. There he is. So this guy is a level 40. I probably can't kill him. I'd have to get really lucky with 2 great headshots. So we're going to focus on this guy here. Just to make sure he's low level. He is. He's 55. Where'd his buddy go? Alright, we'll just kill this guy. That's fine. He's not too hard to take out. So essentially what you're going to do, the same thing. We're going to swap between our 2 modes. We're going to start in first person. And we're going to line up our shot with our spear while he's coming at us. Not from the side, because there's a good chance he'll just move. Instead, here, it's very easy to line up a shot and get the headshot. So you can either go like this and let it go, and then just hit him, and then we're going to switch back to our third person here. And you can throw another spear, significantly easier. At this point, we don't care about headshots, we just want to make contact. And he should be getting relatively slow. And we're going to catch up. He's probably going to turn around. I did lose my spear here. So I'm going to swap over to the torch, as it's going to be a great alternative. And if I hit him once, he'll probably die. And there he goes. My torch broke, and hopefully he'll burn. He will not. So we're going to repair our torch from our hotbar by simply, again, just double tapping the item that we need while it's on our hotbar to save us some time. Now I'm going to re-equip it, and we'll chase this guy down. They will kind of run frantically around, and he seems to be stuck. So this should be a pretty easy kill at this point. And there he is. And he's dead. And most likely, so the spears are gone because it was too long before I was able to actually go through and kill him. But we will go through and harvest this up for some additional hide, which is going to be monumental for crafting our first parasaur saddle. Also, we gain another level, which means we unlock the ability to craft our club. And I'm going to increase our melee damage at this point, so we can actually deal more torque bar damage with this club, which is going to be what's needed to actually knock a creature out. So we're going to build our wooden club here, see what it is that we need, which is just going to be, again, fiber. So as soon as I get this built, and we are ready to knock out our first creature, I will be right back with you. Okay, now we are back, and we're actually not going to kill the creature. I realize we're actually hungry. So I want to show you, we build the campfire to make your first amount of food here. And because I just used my stamina, as it restored, it actually wiped out my hunger. So we're completely starving. So we're going to go through, and we're going to place down the campfire. I'm going to cook ourselves some food, so we don't actually starve to death. And how we're going to do that, we're just going to place the food and the meat in here. We're actually going to need more wood, food in the wood here. And then we're going to light the fire. In Ark Survival Ascended, it will tell you how long that fuel is going to last. So it's not very long. It is not going to cook that entire stack of meat. So I'm just going to give this tree a good whack, so I can get a couple more pieces. That way it stays lit to cook the entire stack of meat for me. So when I come back after this fight, I will have more food to actually work with. So we'll just transfer that over. Apparently I made an extra campfire on accident, which is okay. And then I did make enough to craft our first piece of chest armor as well. So we're going to equip that. And now that we have that, we're going to take our cooked food out of here. And because we're starving, we are losing health. But when it comes to eating, if your food meter is not maxed out and your health is not maxed out, when you eat a piece of food, you're going to immediately replenish your food. And as you do that, you'll immediately replenish your health. And then over time, your health will start slowly regenerating because all of your stats are where they need to be. But you can see we are still losing food pretty quickly. So basically, it's because we're healing. We need to get more food, and that will help us continue to heal. So early on, if you ever need to heal, it's actually good to run out of your food about halfway, because if you have a last minute where you need to just kind of spontaneously heal, you can eat a piece of cooked meat. Now let's see what level this guy is. This guy is level 20, the perfect knockout. So let's go through and craft our club, which I apparently put all the wood back into the campfire that we needed to make this. So we'll craft the club here, and we're going to knock this guy out once we craft this. And we can also make a sleeping bag. Sleeping bags will be utilized to go through and to give you a temporary place to respawn. Now, when you knock these out, typically the best way to do that is going to be to utilize a bola, as the bola is actually going to be able to immobilize them and prevent them from going anywhere. We don't unlock that till the next level, so we could go through and gain some experience. I will just do that here real quickly, and then I'll be right back with you to show you how that's done. Alright, now that I've leveled up here, we've got the bola here, and we're going to go through and get our parasaur. Now, looking at the parasaur with the bola, you'll see the crosshair is green and there's a check mark. This indicates they can in fact be bola and will work on them. If you use the bola on other creatures and it's red, it means the bola will not work. So we're going to go through and just hit this guy. It doesn't matter where we hit him with that. And then we're going to get the club, and we're going to hit him in the head till he gets knocked out. You can spam the club as fast as you want. If you do hit the creature after they get knocked out, you will ruin their taming effectiveness, meaning it won't be as high of a level. But being early on, I missed thankfully. Being early on though, it doesn't matter too much because realistically you're not going to keep this guy forever. Now, we're going to wait for him to actually get low on food, and then we're going to feed him. When it comes to berries, I have 20 in total, which is probably not a lot, but it's going to take a while to actually go through and get ready to get tamed. So what we're going to do in the meantime is I'm going to show you how to do your very first metal run. Now, in order to do that, we're actually going to want to get a parachute to make it pretty quick and safe. So what we're going to do is we're going to need a whole bunch of fiber for sure, because we're going to need fiber to actually craft the parasaur saddle when we get back. And then we're going to need fiber to actually craft the parachute. I believe we need fiber for the parachute, but it's going to be higher, much higher levels. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a bunch of thatch, and then we'll need these for the parachutes too. I just know that as one of the essential ingredients. We're going to stock up on our food, and now I'm going to show you how to use the Explorer Notes. Since I feel like at this point, you should have a decent understanding of just kind of some basic tips to work with here. And yeah, that should be fine. Now, if you want to track your tame, if you want to know where they're located, all you need to do is open up your inventory, and you can go over to your tracking list. You can go to Tames in Progress, and you'll see here's our parasaur. So we can mark him if we want, and he's right here on the beach. Now, he's actually going to get up pretty quick. Parasaurs do actually wake up fairly quickly. Thankfully, though, they also eat fairly quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our way down here, and we're going to get ourselves some water. We're going to fill up our water skin as well while we're here. And we're going to go to the notes, because the notes are going to give us a bunch of experience pretty quick. Now over here we can see a bunch of creatures fighting. This is indicative of a hostile creature in the area. And that's just a dillo. I'm actually not going to bother hitting it, because if I did, I might also hit that turtle. But I do want to hit these little guys, as these little guys are actually going to give us more hide, which we will need to craft our parasaur saddle. And thankfully, well, that's just one. And then we can go through and attack this guy here. We'll use the torch on him. That way he just go through and gets incinerated. And come on, little buddy. Do you want to die? Okay, we'll get the dodo instead. It'll probably be easier to kill. There we go. I don't want to spend all day on it. I just want enough to be able to make this work. And then we'll get the Lystro. He's pretty heavy, or pretty strong. So we're going to go back here now. And on South Zone 2, here's going to be where you will find the Explorer Note. Right here is where it's going to be located on the map. And you can see our parasaur is also on our map here too. You're going to walk up in here, and this is going to give you your first Explorer Note. This Explorer Note is going to give you a whole bunch of experience initially when you open it, And then for everything that you do afterwards, it's also going to go through and give you additional experience for things like crafting, fighting, exploring, things like that, harvesting. Now that we've got that, it initially gave us 4 levels. So we're going to pump a couple into health, one into stam, and we'll put 1 into fortitude now. Now, what you can do, if you really want to level faster, like really expedite the process, you can actually go through and look for a second explorer node, which is just here nearby, and it's very close to the first one. You hit this one, now if we check our levels, we're going to have a whole bunch of experience to spend. And as you can see, we just gained 9 additional levels. Now the reason that, again, I don't recommend doing this for earlier players is for the simple fact that you're just going to skip so many different items and you're going to not know what to do. Because if you look at all the engrams now, we have 172 points to spend and you've unlocked all of this and you probably have no idea what to do with all of it. What I will tell you though, why I specifically came in here, is I want the parachute at level 22. Then we're going to go through and get the trank arrows because eventually we'll need those. And I don't think we even unlocked the bow, did we? Probably not. So let's unlock the bow. And then I'm not worried about the structures too much or anything else at this point. But we do want a smithy, a refining forge, a metal pick, and a metal hatchet. Now, oh, and we're also going to want just a basic foundation. Now, usually I'd recommend skipping thatch in almost every circumstance, but we're not planning on making a base. We're planning on just being able to build somewhere to smelt our metal. Now, at this point, I think our guy's probably halfway to being awake. He's pretty close, about a third of the way down. So I'm going to head back, and he's probably hungry. So I'm going to, again, spam pick up through all these bushes to make the best use of my time and hope that I get more berries to avoid me having to constantly farm them out. I'm just going to run through the grass and basically, again, you just spam pickup because this will save you some time in the long run. You're making your way back, but you're also being efficient while gathering berries. And we're just going to avoid this guy. We are low on stam, so I'm going to wait. If you want to recover a stam really fast, you can actually lay down, and it will go back significantly faster. And now we're going to just keep an eye on that fella up there and grab more berries. And as you can see, we're getting a whole bunch, even if we're just kind of zigzagging back and forth. And then as soon as we get back, we should be able to feed him, and he should be ready to tame, and I can craft the parasaur saddle. So we're going to go through and stick the berries in his inventory. But in the event this is not enough, I'm going to put a second stack of another berry in here just in case, because if it's not enough, he will actually lose taming effectiveness if he goes to eat and there's no more food left in his inventory. So now that we have this, we're going to craft this. We will want some more bolas, so I'll craft that. And I'm going to then place the parachute on the upper menu here, because that's what we're going to want to craft here in just a moment. Now occasionally, there we go, we can actually level up, so we'll just put a point into weight, because we're going to need that. And then we're going to go through and harvest what we need to make this parachute, which is going to be some hides. We're going to have to kill a couple of more creatures, and then we're going to go through and we're going to need some fiber. So we've got enough fiber here in just a moment. We're going to spam this here. The parasaur, unfortunately, does not have the capability of farming fiber. They will help you with the narco berries, which you will need to go through and to utilize the spoiled meat. Now, speaking of which, let's actually show you how to split meat. So I don't think we've covered this so far. I've actually had to record this a couple of different times, but due to interruptions, I don't remember if we actually covered this. So I'm going to show you anyways. If you want to split it, you can split just one, and they will keep the same timer. Now, if you want to split a large stack all at once, simply just click on it and hit go to split stack. And this works on console as well, and hit split all. And then you'll split all of the meat all at once. Typically, you would wait to do this until it is a much lower time, and they will expire all at once so you can craft it into spoiled meat. Raw meat stacks up to 40 in total, and spoiled meat will stack up to 100 in total, and they only expire one at a time when they're in a large stack. Now, if we take a look at this guy, he should be almost tamed. Let's see what he's all ate. He probably won't even need these berries. You'll probably team up just here on these. Oh, there's a pego, and he ruined our effectiveness. This is a pegomastix, who is someone who will walk up and steal your stuff. Now, just because I don't like him, and he's a high level, we're going to bola him. And now we're going to proceed to kill him, because we do not like him. I should be able to craft some spears, so we're going to just light him on fire for the time being, while I wait for my spears to go through and build. And now we're going to punch him in the face, because he stole our stuff. They will steal your stuff, they come out of nowhere, they're quite fast, and they're very sneaky. But unlike the seagull, if you do manage to kill them, you could take back what they stole. And in this case, he took 140 thatch, which I actually need to craft our parachute. So that was kind of a messed up thing. He was kind of rude for doing that. And now we've got our first tame. So if you do get your first tame, then you can go through and give him a nice name. And then once you've done that, you can go through and slap the saddle on him. Now at this point, I see another pegu over there. So we're going to use our new buddy. Even though he's an herbivore, if you tell him to attack, he will attack. So he's going to follow us by default. And he, by default, will kind of just run along with us. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you, if you switch to first person, it's a little bit easier to pull off. And you're going to point your crosshair at this guy, and you're going to tell him to whistle attack target. Now, this parasaur is going to go in and start attacking this guy for us. Hopefully he doesn't hit the turtle. That would be bad, because the turtle might be a little harder to kill. But he's going to go through and attack this guy for us, which will give us a huge protection. We can also ride him, but I just want to show you that you can whistle attack target, even with herbivores. Now I'm going to... he killed him. Now, being an herbivore, he will attack him repeatedly sometimes because they glitch out, but he cannot harvest the corpse. So we need to harvest the corpse. And then once he's harvested, he is dead. Now, we're going to hop on our new mount, and we can actually ride him. Now, parasaurs excel at gathering bushes for a whole bunch of berries. So getting any Mejo berries in the future to tame future herbivores, or narco berries to craft narcotics, is going to be an absolute breeze in comparison to using your hands. They can also knock trees down and will give you a small amount of wood, and quite a bit of thatch. Now at this point, let's see what we all have in our inventory here. We do have 14 hide. So all we're missing for our parachute is going to be the fiber here. So we're going to go through and swap back to third person as I find it easier to see everything. And in just a moment here, we should have everything we need to make this happen. And there we are. We've got enough for our parachute. So I'm going to craft our parachute, and we're going to go through and place it on our hotbar. And we're also hungry and thirsty, so we're going to address that so we don't lose any health. And then we're going to head over to our buddy here. Now we're going to use him as he's going to be a pretty safe way to navigate some of this terrain. Again, there's not too many dangers here, so you don't have too much to worry about. But he's a pack mule, so he'll make things pretty easy and keep us safe. And I'm going to bring him to the water's edge. There is a pego over there, which is probably going to try and steal something from us. So we may have to deal with him in just a moment. But we're going to keep navigating this way just so we can go through and make our way to the next area. And there's actually a whole bunch of stuff here that wants to kill us. There was the dillo back there, and then the pego, and there's another dillo here. So is this dillo following us? I'm not sure if he is. But you can fight these guys. And essentially you can use... they do a lot less damage than you would, utilizing the headshot damage. But you can still kill them, and it's not you taking damage, it's going to be your creature. So defensively, it does give you some options. I honestly find, though, for some of these weaker creatures, it will just be way faster if you kill them, as they're not really designed to be efficient at combat. But we will go through and kill him, and now that we've done that, we can hop back on. Now, the great thing about Zone 2, or South Zone 2, outside of the lack of predators, it is also going to be a relative great place for resources. Is he going to follow us? He is going to follow us. So now I'm going to show you how fast it is when I do it, as you saw earlier. You're just going to go through and hit him and sidestep everything he does and die. So they're way faster. You're way faster than they are just because you are actually efficient at combat and this parasaur is not. Now, what I was saying about South Zone 2 is on this edge here, this coastal edge right here, leading up to the mountainside over here, all down here in the water has what's called river rocks. These little river rocks can actually potentially give you metal. They have a pretty high chance of giving you metal. I'm going to whistle passive. I'm going to whistle stop all, so he does not follow me into the water. He'll hang out right there. Now what you're looking for is these small little circular rocks. I'm not seeing any right here. Here's one right over here. So we're going to go through and equip our pickaxe, because that's going to have a higher chance of getting us to metal, and we're going to break these rocks. Now they're not a guaranteed chance, but you can see we did already get one from this rock, and all these rocks will have a small chance of giving us metal. My pickaxe broke, so we'll repair it. Something to be conscious of when you're swimming is your stamina, your oxygen, and any creature around you, because a lot of the times you will have piranhas or megalodons to deal with. In this area, it is very rare you will find either. But these rocks will give you a decent amount of metal to go through and get started with. But, ideally, if you want to get the motherload of metal, I will show you where to go when you first start off in this zone. So we're going to hop back over to our buddy here and take him along so we don't accidentally forget him. And we're going to head over to this river mouth. The closer you get to the edge of the river, though, the higher chance of having piranhas in the water there will be. So if you're going to farm the metal rocks, farm it over on this side. Over there, it's going to be a bit more dangerous. Alright, now at this point, we've actually navigated a little bit farther along. As you start to get here, you will start to encounter more dangerous creatures. There can be elephants here, baryonyx, raptors. There can be a lot more dangerous stuff the moment you turn this corner here. So where you were just at, this is now slightly more dangerous territory. So for the simple fact that I'm actually faster without my buddy on here, and I don't see anything bad, I'm going to just park him here. Now, I probably should have left him in a safer spot over there, but I'm going to just have him stay here. Because I feel confident that I can go up there without him, and I can survive. So we're going to make sure we can craft some bolas, and then we're going to go up. Alright, now at this point I have 3 bolas, and we're going to go through and put our parachute on our hot bar here. It's going to be extremely important. Now I am low on food, so we're going to go through and eat in just a moment here. And we're also going to grab some water, as it's quite the journey up here. Now ideally, if you are running about, usually it's advised, especially once you get to some more dangerous areas, that you go through... That was one enormous fish. Dude, look at that thing. So I potentially should have crafted a second bola, because I technically could jump all the way across from up there, over there, without having to go through the water. And the water can be a pretty sketchy area, because of the piranhas and the possible other creatures that want to kill you. But instead what I'm going to do, another option if you don't have a parachute, is you're going to look for large rocks like this, that take you out in the water and give you the opportunity to jump across. So I'm going to do that now, and you can technically see the shapes for some of the fishes. Now I don't know if there are piranhas here, but there's usually a good chance they are. So now that I've jumped across the rock, I eliminated half the distance that I need to cover in the water, meaning there's a lot less chance that I'm actually going to die. Now I'm going to work my way over to the bottom of the mountain, which is going to go all the way up here. Before I start my journey though, I'm going to check my surroundings, again, make sure nothing's going to kill me, and now I'm going to wait. Because I'm pretty low on, or I've lost some of my stamina, and I want to restore it prior to me actually running all the way up, and now we're going to go. I'm going to need a piece of meat because I'm pretty low and I don't want that to cause any issues or to start starving. And I'm going to equip my bola. In the event that I automatically get jumped by a pack of raptors, I will have a defense available on that I can use to navigate and escape the situation. Now, I would recommend, like I said, 4 or 5 bolas sometimes because raptors can actually spawn in packs that large. But we do have the parachute if we need to jump. Here's actually our first metal node. These ones are pretty easily accessible, but we're going to go all the way to the top. Reason being, at the top of this mountain, which is actually going to be up here, not over there, is because all the way up here is going to be even more metal nodes, but there's also small crystal nodes. These crystal nodes are essential to being able to build the spyglass, which is a tool that you can use. We're going to stop for our stam and wait. If you run completely out of stam, you could be in a really bad situation fast. So when you're making these dangerous journeys, never let yourself completely run out because you want to have a semi-decent option to go through and escape, if at all possible. Actually, I don't think I went far enough over, so we're going to go over here, and there we are. We're actually out in the open area. I'm going to look for threats again, so we're not actually going to be randomly bombarded or attacked by a raptor. And once you've got all the way up to the top of the hill here, you'll find both some metal and some crystal nodes. Again, before I just get super happy and joyful that I found the metal, I'm going to, again, scout the area. At any point in time in this game, you can and you will get arked. Basically meaning all the progress you made, everything you've done, you'll probably die. So it is advised to just be safe. For some reason, I could not hit that crystal node, so I'm going to attempt it again. They seem to be super buggy, and I'm not able to register. I did get a rare mushroom, so that means I did hit it, and a stone. When breaking this crystal, there is a very small chance you will get crystal from it, with a stone pickaxe. If you don't, it is perfectly okay. You can make another trip to come get this later on once you have a metal pick, because you'll have a much higher chance of doing it. It seems like today I am not going to be lucky. So instead, we're just going to focus on the metal and keep an eye out for anything dangerous that wants to kill me. When you utilize stone tools like the stone pickaxe, you will get a lot more stone, which is a basic resource, than you will a rare resource like metal. The moment you get a metal pickaxe, you'll primarily just get metal from these large nodes. What we're looking to accomplish here, when you first go through and get the amount of metal you need, let me just check the surrounding areas. Again, I don't see anything. We're going to open up our menu. So what you're going to need metal for is you're going to want to use metal to go through and to craft the smithy, which you need 5 to make. You will need to make the forge first to turn the raw metal into metal ingots. Every 2 raw metals equal to 1 ingot. Then you're going to need 1 for your metal pickaxe. You need 5, 6, then you need 8, so you need 14. And then once you have that, a little farther down, you're going to go through in your crossbows with 7. You're going to need 21 in total. Meaning on your first metal run, if you can get 42 pieces of raw metal, you can get everything you would need to go through and to get a better weapon to help you tame and defend yourself, and a metal tool of each of these specific required amounts. You can also go through and attempt to get a metal sickle, which will be a huge help when it comes to farming fiber, as it's much faster than picking it by hand, and a metal pike for a better version of the spear, one that you can't throw, but that you can go through and utilize just to deal more melee damage. But overall, 42 should be the pretty much lowest number you're shooting for when it comes to raw metal. Now, unfortunately, you can't really track that since you're not really crafting anything. You could go through and select every single item you want to craft all at once on your screen, but that's just too much information. Now, though, I'm going to eat and I'm going to drink, and we're losing food and water because we're exerting stamina to farm this, which is why I told you to fill up before you made your first metal run, because I knew you'd run out. Now that we've done this, we have got 29. Not enough, and we're heavy. So I'm actually going to throw out all of the stone as I don't need it, and I'm going to bump my weight stat 1 more. And we're going to keep farming. I'm going to farm here until I've got 42, and then I will be back with you as soon as I've done that. All right, now welcome back. At this point, we have accumulated 43 total metal. So I'm not going to spend too much more time here, as I'm actually going to be pretty low on food, and my water is already halfway drained, and I don't want to run out of food and water while I'm up here in this position. So what I'm going to go through and do is I'm going to get ready to essentially launch myself off this mountain. Now the best way to do that is up here there's an explorer note. We're going to skip that note for now, and we're going to look for the cliff directly behind this note. Now what we're going to do is you have the parachute on your hotbar. You're simply just going to run and then jump off the cliff and activate the parachute. And as long as you don't run directly into the tree, you will fly through the branches. As long as you don't hit the center part of the tree, you have no issues. Now this parachute is extremely important when either A, this forest was full of a whole bunch of threats, or if you struggled to get through the river portion due to piranhas or different various threats, the parachute is going to safely bring me directly back to where my parasaur is waiting for me. So as long as they didn't die to anything bad down there, which I don't think they have, I can't quite see them so far. But while we're up here, we're safe. It is important to know that while parachuting as well, you're not going to consume any stamina, meaning even if you are out of food and water, as long as you're not starving or dehydrated, you're not expending any stamina, meaning you are safe to traverse all this distance without utilizing the actual resources needed to get back. And then once we are back down here, we can make some more cooked food, and we can make some more water. But at this point, I am sure this video is probably pretty lengthy, so I don't think we'll drag it on anymore. I do see this parasaur, though, who is running around like wild, so he's getting attacked by something. But as you can see, like I said, this parachute's going to bring us literally... I probably might just be able to remount from dropping. That would be pretty epic, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so this is pretty much how you get started in Ark. We didn't really discuss talking about building a base. That's the next thing you'd want to do. And we might just overshoot him. That's okay. Come over here. Make it look cool. Make it look cool? Alright, we made it look cool. We landed on our buddy. So yeah, that is pretty much how you get started in Ark. If you really enjoyed this, even though it was lengthy as all can be, and you want to see more, or even a continuation of this, kind of the next steps you would take, then please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and let me know down in the comments below. I'll see you all later.